What's going on, guys? My name is Dylan White, and today what I'm going to be talking about is this topic right here, if I was poor. And I know that that's kind of an inflammatory title, but I like to use that because it really does invoke that sort of shock value, because honestly, for me, this was the case. I was poor, and I don't want to BS you guys. You already have enough BS in your life. You don't need any more. So what I want to talk about today is this topic, if I was poor, and what I would use to get out of this. And I know from firsthand experience what it's like to be poor, what it's like to not be able to pay your bills. And by using some of this logic and methodology, it was what helped me very much improve my financial situation and stop basically being poor. I don't want to sugarcoat it. This is a very realistic thing for so many people, especially in today's world with our economy just completely ruined due to COVID. People were already struggling beforehand. Now they're hurting even more. And the best thing that I can do is to share some of my wealth of experience that I've had struggling beforehand. A lot of people don't really know my backstory, but I was that kind of guy that, I really believed that I did everything right. I did everything by the book. I did everything that people told me. I studied hard, went to college. I shot for really high positions in companies. I did meet a lot of goals and I did meet a lot of success, but no matter what I did, it just never seemed like enough. Part of it was my own poor financial choices. The other part of it was just never being paid my actual value. And so the only thing that I could do was to work on changing my own situation rather than waiting for someone to change my situation, to pay me more money, to pay me what I feel like I'm worth. Instead of doing that, I focused on how can I generate my own wealth and basically create my own worth. And it really all just started off with this, if I was poor. And so jumping into the video, starting with this topic, and I really believe that this is something that everyone should do, even if you're not in a terrible financial situation, even if you're not necessarily living paycheck to paycheck. This is something that you should do anyway, because it's always good to be conscious of where your money is going, how much you're making, input and output, things like that. So if I was in this position again, what I want to do is, first and foremost, figure out what my expenses are compared to my income. And believe me, this seems like such a basic thing, but you have no idea how hard this is for so many people. So many people, they make money, this is their income, and then without even paying attention to where any of their money is going, the next thing you know, they live in that status of what we call paycheck to paycheck, which essentially just means that whatever you're making, your incomes equal that. And so your expenses equal your income. You're making this money, you're spending the same amount of money. You don't get anywhere in life on this. And so the ideal goal here in this process is to lower your expenses and increase your income. Now, I understand this is very hard. There's different ways that you can do this, but generally when people think of increasing their income, they're not really willing to put in extra work. When they think of doing increase in income, they're really just at one job hoping for a continual raise. But let's be honest, raises don't happen that often. And when you do get them, how many times have you heard someone say oh, I got a 20-cent raise or a 30-cent raise? So this is a sort of a separate part of the equation, which I will get into a little bit later. But what people can immediately do, assuming that you're not expecting some sort of big, significant raise anytime soon, is lower your expenses. It's very easy to do, but you'd be surprised. People find it very hard. quickest way to lower your expenses, get rid of things that you don't need. Things like shopping, going out to eat, buying coffee from coffee shops. These are just some very superficial examples, but these are the types of things that you have no idea how much people spend just on buying things that they don't need. I'm not even talking about your things that you actually have to pay for. Like, you know, typical expenses that someone would have to pay for would be like a car payment or health insurance or anything like that. Those, or even rent, for example. Those are sort of your fixed costs that you have to pay to live. Now, if those fixed costs, things like rent, health insurance, car payment, if those things by themselves are already more than your income, you have a problem, right? If you can't even pay to live, then you are not making enough income. But most people don't fall into that category. Most people can at the very least pay for food, shelter, and a car. Where people typically screw up is right here in the things that you don't need. And I really hate to say it, but honestly, these things are luxuries. These are things that you need to cut out of your life if you are living paycheck to paycheck. If your expenses are equaling your income, these are the quickest things that you can get rid of, that you can start saving that money instead. And you'd really be surprised. It's so easy to see how someone could spend, $15 to go out to eat, and they can do that, say, 2 to 3 times a week. That could be, $30 to $45 right there out of your paycheck. Average American spends about $1,000 just on coffee every single year. I mean, wouldn't it be nice to say, hey, I have $1,000 saved up at the end of the year? But for the average American, $1,000 goes right to coffee. It's crazy. So what you need to do first, starting off, understand what your income is, understand what your normal expenses are, rent, food, coffee, car, things like that. All of your, I must have these to live. Subtract those from your income. So income minus things I need to live. And that will give you some sort of number. Now with that number, you then look at all of these extra things that you buy, and you start cutting these out. And when you start cutting these out, what you'll notice is that this sign will go longer. And then what you can do is you can put this money into a lot of different things, but primarily, if you don't want to do any additional work, if you don't want to do any type of investing or anything like that, this becomes savings. And honestly, I hate when people say that savings doesn't matter. If someone says, well, if you're only saving, say you put $15 a month in a bank account, and they say, oh, that's nothing, that'll never get you anything. That $15 that you've saved every single month for the last year, that's $15 a month that you didn't have before. So really, it doesn't matter if it's $5, $10, $15, $100, whatever you can afford to save, you need to save. It's really just that. Don't let anyone tell you that saving money is ever a bad thing. But so many people get in that mindset that, well, I can only afford to save $15 a month, so I might as well spend that $15 a month. And that is such a trap. That gets people so stuck. This savings will ultimately end up paying for something else later on that you didn't foresee, and it'll really help you because it won't cut into your income because it's savings. So this is sort of step number 1 of this process, is figuring all of this out. And this looks a little bit more complicated than what it is, but it's not. And I think that's why people steer away from it, because they don't want to actually look at what they're spending their money on. They just don't, because they're embarrassed. But I say that there's nothing to be embarrassed about. So after you have all of this figured out, number two is kind of controversial as well, because people don't like to address this, because people are ashamed of, for whatever reason, not making enough money off of one job. They always feel like having a part-time job is stupid, but this is what you should be doing. If you're not satisfied with how much money you have, put some of it in savings. And number two, get another job. Like I said, people really hate that, but if you have time, if you don't have any major priorities in your life and you can make this work, I don't care what it is. It could be part-time at a store, it could be driving Uber, it could be doing, a bunch of different things. We have such a rideshare economy now. We have so many delivery options. You can be a pizza delivery boy, you can do Uber Eats or Grubhub. You can do so many different things. All you need to do is just spend a few hours every day, 5 days a week after your normal job to do this. And I don't know why people don't do this. This is what I did, and it really helped me out. But for some reason, people really stray away from this. By doing this, wouldn't it be nice to say I walk away at the end of every month an extra, say, $600? That's something that no one can scoff at. If you're saying, oh, okay, so on top of my income, I'm already walking away with, say, an extra $600, or an extra $300, an extra $1,000, whatever the case may be. Not only are you saving money from your income, now you are increasing your income. You're increasing your wealth. This is super important. Savings alone is great, but you take this and then you add this on top of your savings. Now we're really talking money here. And what you can do with this is you can put this in your savings as well. Don't even bother about spending it. And then the next thing you know, you have a savings account accruing interest. Now you're just making money off of your money already. It's stupid how easy this is. Like I said, people just don't want to do it. So, after you've figured out your financial situation, you get yourself another job. Just work it part-time, a few hours a day, whatever. It really doesn't matter. Obviously, the more you work this, the more money you're going to make. But I'm not telling people to go out and work a 40-hour job and then go put in 40 hours into this. Just do what you can. And obviously, the more money you're making, the better. And then number three, start building something else. Now, what do I mean by that? So now that you've got your income situation figured out, now that you're making a bit more money on top of your income and you're also saving some money from your income, you don't want to just sit there. You want to actually start building something else. And this could be a lot of different things. It could be a YouTube channel like what I'm doing right now. It could be a blog. It could be a podcast. Anything that you have experience in, anything that you feel confident in talking about or have any expertise in, utilize that. The digital realm is so hot right now that it's very easy for you to go and take some of your expertise. It could be expertise that you've learned from your job. It could be family life. It could be whatever. But what you want to do is you want to start building a platform for something else. And as this platform slowly starts to grow, what's going to end up happening is you're going to be able to monetize this. You're going to be able to make money off this. Isn't that nice? So now you essentially have three different sources of income. You have your regular income. You have your part-time job or your side hustle, whatever you want to call it. And then you start building something, and when that starts to get to a certain level, you can then monetize this. You have 3 different income streams right here at your disposal. And the only thing that they really required out of you was just to make some adjustments to your finances, stop buying stuff you don't need, get a part-time job that can help you making a little bit of extra money, and then putting in a little bit of extra work to start building something else. That's really all you have to do to make all of this work. And then what you'll ultimately end up finding out is that by building something and monetizing it, oftentimes, especially for a lot of the most successful people that you're probably watching right now, most of them actually make more money off of this than they ever did off of this and off of this. That's pretty much the ultimate goal that you want to get to. You want to be an entrepreneur, you want to do your own thing. This is what you need to do. This is where the money is. You ask a lot of these people, I'll give you an example. Millionaire, Graham Stephan, 30 years old. He'll straight up tell you, when he first started on YouTube, and I'm not saying YouTube is the holy grail, but what I am saying is that it is a really big factor. When he started on YouTube, he originally started as an investment property broker. So when he started, he said that about 80% of his time was dedicated to real estate. So when he was doing YouTube, it was about 20%. Nowadays, he says it's the complete inverse. He spends 80% of his time on YouTube, 20% of his time on real estate. Why? Because the YouTube now makes far more money. He makes like hundreds of thousands of dollars a month just off of YouTube. He doesn't even have to deal with real estate. He does it at this point for fun. Am I saying that you're ever going to make hundreds of thousands of dollars a month off of YouTube? No, but what I am saying is that if you just take an extra 20 minutes, 30 minutes out of your time and start creating content, whether it's a podcast, whether it's YouTube, whether it's trying to do something with Instagram, whatever, eventually this is going to pay off. It takes time to build, and that's why you're doing these things in the interim, cutting out things you don't need, getting another job to save money, and you use this as a means to have time to do this, and then once this takes off, you start making profit, and this will allow you to get out of this rat race. I know that I'm throwing a lot of information at you guys, but really this is sort of the goal here. This is what I did. Like, a lot of people don't know, but I really don't even have to go into work. I don't work. Now, what I do is I day trade, so some people consider that work, but I sit in my pajamas all day. Why? Because I don't have to go into work. I make enough money off of day trading to be able to do this. I used to be here, now I'm not. What I'm doing is I'm currently in the process of explaining everything to everyone, trying to get information out there. I'm currently building my own business, so that way I can assist you in your own financial freedom. I don't have to deal with this right now, but I am trying to build this. And this is something that a lot of your big influencers won't tell you, is that they make more money doing this than they actually do whatever else they do, whatever their other real-time job is. And that's ultimately the goal that you want to get to, because this is going to make you a ton of money, and you use these steps here in order to give yourself time to do this. So I want to cut it off right here. I know, because like I said, this is a lot of information I'm throwing at you. But if you have any questions, leave them down in the description below. Feel free to hit that like button, subscribe, and I'm going to be talking more about this kind of stuff, but I just wanted to give you sort of an overview of where my mind's at and where your mind is at. Anyway, thank you very much.